Speaking of which, what have you been playing of note?
I have been...
What's up with games?
So I have been...
lately?
I have, for whatever reason, I've decided that I want to work the beat of checking in on these fucked up video games that keep coming out and seeing how broken or unbroken they are this week.
Yeah.
Dookie House correspondent Jeff Christman.
That's right. Coming straight at you with Battlefront 2. It's not a good game. Dan's reviews on the site.
Dan
and I think
honestly harsher than I expected.
I think he nailed...
I'm not saying it was undeserved.
No, I think he nailed that game 100%. Like, I read it and went, yep. Like, oftentimes, I think when when one of us writes a review, there will be like, oh, I'm 90% of the way in agreement, and I see why you would say the last 10%, and cool. It's not always the case that, like, I 100% agree with every single sentence in a review.
Sure.
That Battlefront review is like, yeah, that's exactly what I would have written. This is 100% what I would have written about this game.
Yeah.
Would he give it 2 stars?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I was surprised to see it come in at a 2.
Because it doesn't have, like the issues with that game are not, like the microtransaction loot box controversy stuff is a very real problem.
Sure.
But the problems with that game don't get solved by them tweaking numbers or doing whatever it is they claim they're going to do. It's just the campaign is not good. The multiplayer structure is not good, and then all of that structure is then informed by their poor player progression system, which is which is built in league with the microtransactions and stuff like that.
I think I read a line in his review that was like it seems like this was conceptually just made in like a boardroom as opposed to
a lot of it. I mean, when they put out that beta, it literally came with a fucking PowerPoint presentation.
Exactly.
It was just like, here's John Boyega showing you some charts, and that thing is just sad.
I get that, but I mean, like as a Star Wars fan, is there enough there? Like
it depends.
Like the action is fine, right? Like
beautiful looking game.
It's very turnkey. Like it's fine in the negative sense. Like you play it and you go like, I guess I shot all those stormtroopers. Whatever. Okay. It's not.
Are we talking campaign or multiplayer?
Yeah, campaign. Okay. Like the multiplayer is kind of the same thing too. It's just like, I went on this map again and did this thing, and the options you get as a character, the options you get to tweak your loadouts and the hero loadouts and the ship loadouts and all that stuff are rarely compelling.
Okay.
And the pathway to unlock those is bad. So it's a situation where you're just like, okay, well, I mean, I clearly need to level this stuff up because the people that have are like objectively more resilient and better and have better options than I do.
Their grenades blow up bigger.
Yeah, exactly. It's not always different options. It's literally like, oh, this is just a better option than this one.
That's frustrating.
And
it's all random, right? Like,
well,
what upgrades you get is just depending on what.
To a certain extent, you get crafting parts, which you can then spend to unlock or upgrade the things you want.
But in a very limited fashion, right?
Yeah. Well, it takes a very long time.
That's what I mean.
It takes an extremely long time, even longer now that they're not letting people pay money for stuff.
Should we just talk about all that now? We should. We're talking about it.
Sure.
What a weird week it's been for Star Wars Battlefront 2.
I am fucking blown away. Like
Thursday night
I can't remember another thing like this.
Who was it that tweeted? Was it Jason Schreier from somebody tweeted like, I think EA is about to pull a Microsoft or an Xbox One or something like that, and everybody just braced. I went like, wait, what massive? Like, okay, they're about to backpedal on some big policy.
I was like, wait a minute. So I went and grabbed the Xbox and hooked it up and loaded up Battlefront, and like at that point, like the microtransactions were out of the store.
Yeah.
Or they were out of the in-game store. You could still find them if you searched Battlefront.
In the store, right?
The crystals were gone from the game.
Yeah.
In terms of like you hit the button that says buy more crystals, and that page was just empty.
To be clear, the crystals are the paid currency.
Yeah, that's the paid currency in the game.
Also, right around that time, I saw a tweet going around. Somebody was in a GameStop and had taken a photo of a physical Battlefront 2 crystals card.
Yeah.
They were just like, hey, wait, can you just buy this and it doesn't work now?
No, like all that stuff was... So, I mean, if you bought those credits previously, they're still... like the system didn't change.
Oh, you can still spend
them? They
them?
didn't patch the game to change anything. They just took out the ability to buy the premium currency.
Okay.
So if you got it from some other source, if you already had some, like the account, like they still haven't changed anything in the game other than that.
Right. Which I feel like is the thing people are not focusing enough attention on here.
Is they haven't done...
this doesn't actually fix the problem.
No. In fact, like they in a lot of ways just traded one problem for another one. Well, whatever. Like they built it fucking poorly to begin with.
Right.
Like building the system the way they did is I was going to say criminal, but that's way too harsh.
We'll see what Belgium has to say.
Yeah, it's fucked up. How about that? And removing the hey, what if you could pay your way out of this only means you're now left with a game that has a bad progression, and the system by which you level up that progression is now you're forced into this hugely long grind to get the stuff you might want to get. And by the way, most of that stuff is not worth getting.
Don't worry, Jeff. It's only temporary.
Yeah, so they issued their statement. So all that stuff got pulled out of the store, and you're like, wait a minute.
People are screaming like, yeah, we got him. We did it, guys.
But then the statement from EA is very much like, we are temporarily removing microtransactions from the game. We will only bring them back when the game is when we've made changes.
Once the Metacritic scores are in.
Once the holiday season has passed and we have sold X units.
I wonder, because you only make a move like that if your business is being impacted negatively, right?
Or if a voice comes down from on high, and
that's like if say the head of Disney were to call the head of EA and be like, "Yo,
well, keep in mind
what's going on over there."
That same head of Disney would have had multiple rounds of approvals over the system to begin with.
Yeah, so the idea that Disney was blindsided by any of what's going on.
I mean, if the only thing they could have been blindsided by was the negative. How negative people were about this stuff, and rightfully so. It's a bad system. Right. It is a bad system. So, but don't people are like, Disney saved us from the evil EA. It's like, no, idiot. Disney is implicit in every step of this process. You don't think they had approval over every single character model and what's you doing a skin for this? No skins like this. Yes, skins like. The bonus skins that come with the expensive edition, they probably had multiple rounds of approvals on multiple facets of this game. So the very idea that Disney came in and lowered the boom, no, they came in and said, oh shit, what are we going to do? Hey, let's get our heads together around this stuff. You got to fix this stuff. What can we do to fix it? And this was the step they could take 3 hours before the game launched, basically.
This is all before the game had officially come out.
If you paid for the expensive version of the game, you got to play that as of Tuesday, but the game didn't officially come out for whatever that's worth. Mm-hmm. Or you couldn't buy the game for $60 until Friday.
It was funny. I was in a random Discord with a couple Dota players, and they're not super into games or anything, but...
I mean, you said they're Dota players.
One of the guys was talking about the EA stuff, and the other guy was like, just to put into perspective how big this problem is. One of the guys was like, "Oh yeah, they were stealing people's credit cards, and you were making you buy loot boxes with the stolen information, right? This problem has scaled outside of the game.
I mean, that's FIFA Ultimate Team. It's a totally different EA product that you get your credit card stolen for.
The range of impact this is having is ballooning by the day. I feel because part of the story is that the what's the official name of this? The Belgian Gaming Commission.
So I think
now taking a look
if you
at
had to look at a tipping point, it's two things. I bet so there's a story that showed up on CNN.
That's the other thing I was going to get to.
It was CNN's financial section.
Yep.
Reporting on this stuff in Belgium and saying this Star Wars game's taking a big hit, and that's the sort of thing. Once you start getting financial news out about how people don't want to spend money on your thing, and also backdoored with, hey, there's a government that is potentially going to look into this stuff. That's stock price. That's that's a negative sentiment that is larger than just you can't hand wave that away of just those video game players, they sure do hate everything. No, that's suddenly we got a real problem on our hands. So I'm guessing that was probably the tipping point.
Yeah.
Combined with just maybe people really did refund a whole lot of pre-orders of this game or not buy it, or their day one numbers were looking bad, or maybe things did start looking grim. But I have to imagine that the thing that holds more sway there is
the public perception.
Yeah, or not even the reporting, the financial reporting specifically around this case.
The headline on that CNN story was, "The new Star Wars video game is under attack."
Yeah, by EA.
Yeah.
EA did the attacking there.
And then, like I said, the Gaming Commission in Belgium is now looking at loot boxes, specifically in Overwatch and Battlefront 2, to decide if they constitute gambling or not.
It's funny. I think I said last week that the last thing anyone wanted was the government to look in on any of this stuff. I should clarify, the U.S. government.
Yeah. Sure.
I should probably specify that is more what I meant there, because maybe the EU might have something, because keep in mind, like, that's where a lot of the like Steam refund stuff came up first, was because of consumer rights stuff in the EU and stuff around that. So
my limited understanding is the consumer protections are quite a bit stiffer in Europe than they are here.
Weird.
So along those lines, maybe that might be something worth looking into.
Yeah.
But the U.S. government, the ESA, they're not.
Stay out of my games.
They're not gonna.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Seems like a lot of the sticking point with the Gaming Commission is that, like, at least in the case of Overwatch and Battlefront 2, they're both rated PEGI 12, so they're literally being marketed to children.
Sure.
And potentially contain something that they would consider gambling, so that's obviously a bad thing.
Yeah. I think the, like, is this gambling, yes, no thing is way more complicated. Ultimately, I don't think it is, but I also don't think that blind boxes are good for video games, and I don't...
they don't have to be a literal one-to-one with gambling to be considered shady.
Right.
And the problem is, even if they're ruled as gambling, as we've seen in China, there are lots of ways to avoid loopholes and workarounds. And like, this is a gift, and you're exchanging a gift for a chance to, like,
you're winning pachinko balls.
You're buying this definitive thing, and it comes with a bonus chance to maybe get one of these.
Which is the thing you actually want.
But also, like, I mean, and I said this, when Halo 5 came out and had its card packs and just everyone into the blind box card pack sort of stuff, like, I just want to know what I'm getting.
Yep.
Like that's my major problem with it, is like spending, and we gave an award to that type of blind box stuff not that long ago for how fucked it was. In terms of just like, especially when it's like consumables. I mean, if anything, the extremely slight consolation you could take about some of the more modern stuff is that these aren't consumable items, generally speaking.
And I mean, this all comes from the big trend of games as a service, right? This is because that it's a lot easier to make a video game that's going to live for a few years. And people are going to spend more than the initial $60
I guess. I don't know. Like, I don't look at Battlefront 2 as a games as a service sort of thing necessarily, because it's structured exactly like Call of Duty is every year and has been for a while. Like,
also, they're putting them out on a 2-year cycle,
Right.
They're selling them to you as fast as they would any other
at full price and all this other stuff. Like,
but the advancements have come from, like, Overwatch.
Yeah, no, totally.
The
advancements have come from the mobile space. I mean, this is all people just adapting free-to-play techniques.
I wish I had saved this quote. There was a quote from the head of, I think, a Korean mobile developer. It's like it was a mobile company that has been dabbling in these techniques for something like 20 years. Saying like, hey, you guys are going to kill this market. Like, you were oversaturating this.
No, that is absolutely
to the degree that this business model will become unsustainable.
The negative sentiment that stuff like this, when they fuck it up this bad as Battlefront has, and Need for Speed to a lesser extent.
So they also quietly made changes to the Need for Speed microtransaction and loot.
Again, same story. I don't care how like cheap you make the parts or whatever. That game is still not good. But yes, the progression in that game is still a problem.
Was it the same issue of just like drop rates were not high enough that
they raised credit? They raised credit rewards. It was one of those things like, hey, today we can do this, but we're looking at it, we're listening. And so on and so forth. So the initial change to Need for Speed, I think, is, they raised credit and rewards from different things, and I think they're changing something about the way the part shops work, because you buy parts, but the parts are there on a timer, like the inventory refreshes every 20 minutes or something like that, and most of the parts there suck. And there's a system where you can take cards or take parts cards, I guess they are technically cards. And turn them into blank cards that you then use to spin a slot machine to get a new part out of it.
Great.
And so those are things that come out of the blind boxes that they sell you as well. And so part of their thing was reiterating, like, we intend for you to, like, it's useful for you to go buy every part out of the store and then, dust them all for spins on the wheel. Because when you spin the wheel, you can lock in like one of the three things of like, so The parts have a level. There's a specific type of part, whether it's a brake part or nitrous or turbo or whatever. And then there's a brand of the part which affects which stats it increases. So if you're trying to level up your car in a very specific way, you might want only parts from a certain vendor, or you might want only a specific type of part, or so on and so forth. So basically, you would use these blank cards to lock spots on that slot machine to force you to get the specific vendor you want, or the specific.
Up. I just want to buy it.
It's garbage.
I want
it's
to
a waste of fucking time.
Loot box and get a goofy hat.
I don't want to. Yeah, exactly. Like the very idea that like that's somehow fun or engaging.
No, that
is preposterous. And you know, like I think there are ways to incorporate random chance into rewards in a game that like doesn't feel like a scam.
Yep.
Like Forza Horizon, every time you level up, you get a spin of the prize wheel.
That's fun.
So it's just like, oh, it literally is like a fucking slot machine looking thing, and it spins, and you go like, oh, I got a car, or oh, I got some credits. I wish I would have got the car, but oh well, the credits are fine too. Whatever. And
Dota has the Wheel of Fortune in it.
Yeah, and that stuff, I think there are ways to do that in a game.
Totally.
It's not like,
I like
hey,
me a good loot box. I like me a good
It's not. I paid real money for a thing, and now I get to spin a wheel. Oh, I guess it's not even close to the thing I wanted. So let's repeat this process until I go broke. Yeah. So yeah, I think that Korean developer is absolutely right. Like they are poisoning the waters for this type of thing, which I think can be done in a way that is not garbage.
I guess. I don't know. I'm sitting here starting to question all the time I've spent with Destiny now at this point, which is a game entirely based on random chance.
Yeah, but true. Random chance that like that you aren't forced to engage with to progress anymore. Yeah. Like Destiny 1 was a little too fucked up in that regard. Destiny 2, if anything, goes too far in the other direction.
Yeah.
And the blind box stuff in Destiny 2, I think, is a problem because you are getting gameplay relevant things out of those boxes.
I'm even
but
talking
also
about,
you don't have to buy them, and you shouldn't. Because
no,
you don't
definitely
need
not.
to.
But I'm even talking about like the fact that I got the same raid weapon 4 times in a row out of raid drops. You know,
yeah,
that is very much a question of what am I doing with my time.
Sure, yeah, totally.
That game does not respect the time I'm putting into it.
But that's not that doesn't feel like gambling or a monetary problem.
That dates back to like Diablo.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like at a certain point, like maybe we should start questioning the amount of randomness that is in games in general.
Sure,
it's.
And there are some games that handle it well where you won't get duplicates. Like I mean, Dota chests aren't perfect, but whenever they roll out new chests, they do a thing where there's like 6 common to rares and then 2 ultra rares. You won't be able to duplicate any of the 6 common to rares until you have them all.
Yeah, they instituted a system that prevents duplicates. Which...
And then every time you open one, you have a chance to also get one of the ultra rare ones. Right? So like that is a system that is not perfect. You're still paying money for something you don't know what you're going to get.
Also, that game is free, and those items are cosmetic.
Yes.
So you never feel compelled. Or the compulsion does not come from I need to make myself better at this game and this is the only way.
No, the compulsion
I need to keep up with my friends who have leveled past me and I need to pay money to get there.
Yeah.
It's literally just like I need a sick hat for this fucking space dog.
Even League, which has like its masteries, I think, or the runes, which cost like a little bit of money.
Yeah.
You can still earn those from what I can tell, they haven't really changed up the process to earn those like at a decent rate, and they're still like level capped to a certain degree, so you can't just like go all in with a new account and surpass everyone.
Also, that game is free. And I think that ends up really mitigating. Like it makes it more understandable why they would put payment systems in at some of these checkpoints here. For that sort of stuff, because you're like, well, I got the game for free, so of course it's going to hit me up at some point with something I might want to buy. And I think that is, you can go wrong with a free game. They can, fuck that up and make that predatory or make that a problem. But when you try to get it at both ends, the way EA is by saying, hey, spend $60 to $80 on this game. By the way, the grind rate is so unreasonable that you're maybe going to want to pay money out of pure frustration if you end up liking this game enough to do so, which that's a big if.
That's just a good sign that the game itself, the progression system is
right. That's the thing is the
if they offer a way for you to just pay past that. They're essentially admitting that maybe you're not going to like this part of the game. Maybe
that's like to kind of pivot. Unless we're not done talking about this.
The other thing I would probably say is that, like, when you look at how many times EA has announced changes to this system in Battlefront, you start to realize that they have no fucking idea what they're doing, and that they built this system with seemingly very little vision. Because of how willing they are to just go like, I don't know, how about, what if it's 75% cheaper? I don't know. Oh, shit.
A friend of the site proposed a Game of the Year category the other day, which was Best Battlefront 2 Apology of the Year, which made me realize, wow, they really have come with a message to the community. I want to say
there have been at least 4 different times that they've had to like try to get out and say, here are changes we made to the boxes.
I feel like their one contingency plan was lower price by up to 75%. They had that in the chamber.
Yeah.
And then they did that, and people were still furious. So, and at that point,
you said when they dropped the cost of the heroes, they also dropped the amount of credits you earn, right?
From the campaign.
From the campaign.
Just from the campaign.
I saw somebody say it was by 75%.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. But that was just the campaign. You're still getting the same amount from the multiplayer?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe so. It's but also the rate you get out of multiplayer is not necessarily, it's not as governed by skill as you would like. Yeah. So it's more just like time spent.
Right.
And that sucks too.
Yeah.
So what I was going to say to Jason's point is Assassin's Creed Origins is actually a game that seems pretty all right with its like loot. I don't even want to say loot boxes, because they straight up will just sell you equipment and stuff that will make some of the earlier missions easier to breeze by, and like that. There are ways to make money from your games. And this seems more in line with what I want to see.
Especially, I think
what's the nature of those items?
It's like
you have more health, you do more damage. Like,
here's a cool sword. Some of it is like, do you want like the Ezio costume? Which I think is like a Uplay reward point. That's not even a real money thing.
But you can buy like a legendary bow or something.
This is primarily like single player content.
Yes. It is a purely single player game.
That's fine. That's fine.
And it's optional stuff where you're just like, I don't think I would ever buy this stuff.
But those are real money purchases?
Yeah.
To be clear?
You buy Helix. They've had this system in place for at least the last game, if not the last 2. But yeah, you're buying Helix credits and then spending Helix credits on maps for collectibles or just straight up, here's a sword.
Wait, you have to buy the collectible maps with real money?
If you want them, otherwise you use the bird to find them. It's not, buying the collectible maps is like in Forza when you just like,
that's
put a bunch of garbage on my map. I guess that makes it a hassle.
I mean, because I had just played Horizon, but they sell those maps for like a pittance of in-game credits there. So like that seems a little bit on the fence to me, but whatever.
Yeah, it still sounds technically a cheat.
Yeah,
I guess
it still sounds okay in Assassins. It doesn't sound like you're missing out on anything.
It doesn't sound like something you're forced to engage with. I think that's the forces with Star Wars Battlefront 2.
I'm enjoying Assassins a lot more than I thought I would.
Yeah, me too.
As somebody who kind of fell off the franchise midway through 2.
Oh man.
I haven't checked back in at all since 2-1. So this is fun. It's a really cool world. I feel like they kind of play up the mysticism of Egypt. They talk a lot about how Egypt is a land soaking with like magic and stuff in a way that doesn't feel exploitative. It feels like kind of earned. You're spending a lot of time there. It doesn't seem like it'd be cool if we just had some cool mysticism stuff because it's Egypt. It feels like there is attention paid to like the gods, and you're learning a lot about like the different gods and I really like Bayek as a character. I think he's got a lot of range.
He's really good.
What's his thing? Like
Dead Son.
Yeah.
Avenging his dead son.
Okay. Yeah. Because like Ezio was all swagger and wisecracks.
He's like a cool dad that's also got like he has a lot of range. He's like, kind of like, oh, these kids. I love these kids, and I'll hang out, and I'll be like a big scary guy and chase these kids around.
Here's why I ask is because Ezio was nothing but kind of Han Solo wisecracks, and then when I never played 3, but the character Connor for like I felt like the thing that everybody hated about Connor, from what I could glean, was that he was too serious, which immediately made me wonder if like Assassin's Creed protagonists just have to fit into that Ezio mold.
No. From now on. I think like what was it? The last one, Syndicate was the last one, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, Assassin's Creed Syndicate.
Yes.
And that game had some stuff going for it, but it didn't make me a believer in the future of the franchise. It was like a thing of like, oh, this game is neat, but I still feel like I don't necessarily care about Assassin's Creed. Like this game is actually kind of turning me around in a bigger way as to like, oh, yeah, they should keep making these games. Don't make them every year, but they should. I would play more stuff like this. It's doing it for me.
I saw some people suggesting I think there was like an earnings call or something that Ubisoft did a week or two ago, that some people suggesting that maybe it's going to go to an every other year of Assassin's Watch Dogs, which sounds like a decent.
I could see it to me until they just make those two franchises the same franchise.
Until they just converge.
Yeah.
So yeah, but Bayek's thing is he's a medjed, which is kind of like a super cop. So he's very like duty bound to help people. He feels compelled.
It's like a Witcher.
Actually, he's a lot like a Witcher.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
All right.
I really like the redesigned combat. I think it feels good.
I keep like forgetting, and I'll get into fights and start mashing on X and go, I'm an idiot, because it's not that at all.
So the way it works is you use the shoulder buttons. You've got light attack on R1 and shield break on R2, which is kind of your heavy attack, and then you can shield on L1. So it feels more like a kind of third-person action
and bow
game
on L2
than a Batman.
Kind of sounds like Dark Souls a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean you've got a dodge.
Do you lock on?
Yes.
Yeah, you do.
Okay. So there's like a lot of circling and blocking and shield bashing, and that sounds like Dark Souls.
Pretty intense skill tree too for a lot of different perks. Like I just unlocked a parry.
Okay, so a lot of abilities that you're unlocking, not just like
there's some passives. It's a mix.
Passives, there's like 3 paths. One of the hunter, which is like your stealth stuff and your bow stuff. One of combat, which is just like combat stuff, and then one that's kind of like tricks and abilities and like
smoke bombs and fire darts or whatever.
Sleep darts and all sorts of stuff like that.
Do you like that sort of stuff?
I haven't gotten too far into like that path.
Yeah, same here. Like that stuff, I feel like Assassin's Creed is they don't do the tool stuff particularly well, or they haven't.
I've heard the smoke bomb is supposedly OP. I tweeted about being bad at the game earlier before I had kind of really grasped the combat, and a lot of people said try and get that smoke bomb ASAP. So I'm looking forward to getting that one. But yeah, it has a lot of really good side quests that kind of tell their own stories in very short ways. Like an early example of one is a man comes up to you and said that bandits stole his Book of the Dead, and he needs it to get back to get to his wife in the afterlife. Basically, he needs to be buried with it. So you go and you do the thing, and you come back and you find out he's died in the time that you've been out. So you have to like bring the book to his grave and bury him with it, and it's just like this cool little 15-minute.
Yeah, like from a gameplay perspective, it's just like you take it back and they go, no, he's dead, and you just take it back somewhere else. But it doesn't feel like a bit of writing.
I mean,
this might sound like the most self-evident thing ever, but like I like side quests with good writing. Like it's nice. It's nice to have something feel. Yeah. Or like I'm finding even like a lot of the side quests in Nier are not great from a mechanical perspective, but they add a lot to the world. You know, and like Horizon's even kind of the same way. I feel like everything I'm doing in those games is like fleshing out what these games are trying to say.
It's the thing that like Wolfenstein, Horizon, and Nier have in common is that thing of like the more you can flesh out those worlds, the more interesting the whole thing is.
Yeah. Like I feel like I'm coming into Game of the Year feeling like I mean, not that games have always been horribly written in the past, but like I feel like games writing got good this year in a way that
better.
I'll say better for sure. I mean, there's definitely the ways to go, but like I feel like I'm coming away from games like this more being able to very clearly identify like what the themes were and what they were trying to do with it than in a lot of cases. And like that's really satisfying.
Yeah, totally.
What's the world design in that game like? Because like I saw you play some of it on that Xbox stream we did, and like it looked like there was maybe some kind of just big stretches of desert.
Yeah, I mean,
is there a lot of just like running from place to place through like flat sand, or
it's riding a horse in some cases?
Okay, it's nice because
is it like pockets of are there oases? I mean, like, is it pockets of little towns and stuff? Or
like here's a town, the edge of the town there's farmland, and then at the edge of the farmland is desert.
Okay. It didn't look like the wide stretches necessarily.
And a lot of the desert will have like little caves and stuff where like a bandit hideout will be.
So there is stuff to find out there.
Yeah.
It's not, like totally featureless.
No, at least from what I've seen. I've only done like the second major assassination.
They reuse destinations in some cases, so they've got daily quests in that thing. Like there's a merchant you can go to every day, and he'll be like, it's a little kid, and he says like, they stole my shit. Go get it. And then like it sent me back to the bandit camp that I just cleared out in the previous mission, and there was only one guy there because I'd killed everybody else. So I just like went over there and smoked him and got a sweet axe.
Rory was talking like they have. They almost sounded like MMO style, like super boss challenge type
I haven't seen that because you have to be higher level to, like a public to reasonably take that on. But there's kind of
but it's a single player game, so that sounds like a weird analogy. But that's what he made it sound like.
Also, I was surprised how straight up Destiny the inventory stuff is.
Every time I've seen that character screen, I'm just like, whoa, okay, sure.
Yeah, you very much just have like, here's I forget what they call it, the power or the strength of a weapon.
Oh, they even do that?
Like there's a number value like when they just hover the weapon, and then
there's
if you
a quality item and a DPS,
and they just
a quality number.
Do they just aggregate all that onto a?
Don't.
No, they don't aggregate it, but you can just see on a per item basis.
But even the layout of that character screen is just like character in the middle, two columns of gear, and a little cursor that you move.
It's effective.
It's like, all right, sure,
it works.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that game is cool.
Yeah, seems really solid.
A lot cooler than I thought it would be.
Yeah,
when we saw it at E3, you looked at it and go like, this doesn't look like it runs great. It just looks
People were pretty down on it coming out of E3. I was surprised, but like I came to this break going like, all right, I've got Horizon and Assassins is out. What should I play? And I picked Horizon, but it sounds like I need to play some Assassins too.
Yeah, me too.
I have a feeling Assassins is going to be a lot of people's 2017, 2018 game. Because I feel like if it's long, from what I've heard, it's very long. I don't know if I'm going to be able to beat it in time for end of the year stuff, but like if they support it in a decent way, I could see a lot of people playing that into next year.
It kind of ties into some of the loot box stuff, honestly, but like it's the support stuff that Ubisoft has been doing has been really fascinating to watch.
Did you see they just announced a third year of Rainbow Six Siege
they
content?
Did. Oh, that's cool. And they have they also, that kind of comes on the heels of them announcing more PvP options coming to Wildlands, and also like they had it seems like they had a rough go with For Honor that is now like they're getting there with it. They're like, oh, we're doing another season of For Honor. We're making these changes. We're doing this. We're doing that. Like they seem to be finding it in a way that I think publishers like EA and even Activision to a certain extent are not. Like they're finding ways to make this like lasting support thing make sense. I mean, I guess I don't know, I didn't pay close enough attention to their financials to know if it's like working out for them that way. But when we talk about like first week sales mattering less and less, it's because of stuff like this. Like Rainbow Six Siege seemed like a game that 5 years ago, whatever, if you'd launched it, 5 years ago instead of 3 or whatever it was, 2, that game would have been DOA and you never would have talked about it again. Yep. But they stuck with it and turned it into something and fostered that community in a way that now it's like seems to be doing quite well for itself.
That's cool.
And it's really fascinating to watch them do this stuff and watching how it informs some of what Assassin's Creed has in terms of like these like big super boss events and the daily challenge stuff. Like it doesn't feel like, and I guess I need to play more Assassins, but it doesn't feel like they're shoehorning in a bunch of bullshit to make like, oh, here's some stuff we can update. It's more like it feels like a natural fit to the design of those games. Like Siege is a multiplayer shooter. Naturally, it's going to be able to go in a direction. For Honor, the same deal. Wildlands didn't launch with any PvP at all. Yeah. They had a season pass, and they made good on that. And the season pass content, I don't know, that's not necessarily what I was looking for out of more Wildlands, but it's neat and different, and that was kind of cool to see. And then to suddenly be oh, by the way, like here's this PvP mode, and we're going to keep supporting this game in different ways. It was just, it's weird. It's another one of those,
in a good way.
But potentially in a good way. Potentially in a way that counters, I think, what we're talking about with Battlefront and Need for Speed. Right. Is I think that they're finding it in, like I said, I think they're finding it in a way that EA is definitely not, and we'll see how this stuff goes. I think big games are in a strange transition right now. We're watching EA try to have it both ways by charging you $60, $80 in some cases, whatever it is, and then also try to get you to buy boxes too. And Destiny does that as well, but it's kind of a different situation with Destiny because of the nature of what they're trying to sell you after the fact.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, just watching these different approaches, I think there is a potential for these companies to find it and find ways to make all this stuff work. But going back to what you said about that Korean mobile developer, like, yeah, stuff like this Battlefront stuff has the potential to really fuck all that stuff up before anyone finds the right non-exploitative way to do it.
Yeah. Because anything going forward that's going to have loot boxes, people are going to be, there's a stigma.
Well, it's full of backlash now. It's
I don't know how you ship a game of the style of Battlefront post Battlefront.
Right.
Like the backlash being what
you sell a season pass, I guess. I don't know. Like this was,
to be clear, they are putting out all the DLC for free for Battlefront 2, right?
I think that was the thing. That was their big E3 message was no season pass.
Yeah.
And that the content would just come out, and then the other shoe on that is like, we're doing this system to try to make up for the money we would have made from season pass sales.
Yeah.
But they've blown that up so bad, so bad, so bad. I'm that Thursday night when they pulled the plug on that shit, I was just like I said, I can't think of another situation like this. I was just blown the fuck away.
Yeah.
Like hours before the game officially launches, this huge change made in the shoddiest, most ramshackle, last minute way possible.
Yeah. When you spent like 30 minutes over on the GameSpot side talking to them about that stuff, like that's when I knew that this had the makings of like a hot mess type of
dude. It's beyond that shit, man.
Yeah. Also, for the initial exposure that everyone had to this being that they pulled that currency without a statement ready to go. Yeah. I mean, granted, they followed up an hour later or something.
Right. I think they realized, thought maybe people wouldn't find it. Right.
That's exactly what I mean. It's like, how did you think nobody was going to stumble on this in the 90 minutes it took you to get some kind of messaging out there?
And then just to have their two versions of the apology, the blog post that they put up, and then the GIF version of it for Twitter that just has in big letters we're sorry.
Yeah.
It's it's too late. It's too fucking late.
Yeah, totally.
You boned this up so bad.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like this.
Also, God forbid we have to keep having companies put these statements out, but can we have a moratorium on phrases like "we hear you" and "we're listening"?
Right.
Because that appeared 6 times in that statement.
And that's all that's what they said on Reddit. That's every step of the way has been, we're just oh, well, yeah, now you are.
But also those phrases are basically meaningless. Say what you're going to do,
Yeah.
Don't just say, yeah, we get it, you're mad. That's kind of how that comes off to me.
Got thoughts and prayers for the Battlefront 2 community.
Yeah, let's hear some kind of plan of action.
But I think that speaks to this stuff coming very last minute and them not really having a vision for how this stuff should have worked.
Yeah.
Because the number of changes they made in the last few months of development, post beta as this stuff, because keep in mind the big thing out of E3 was hey, no season pass, and it's going to be great. And then it was some YouTube video or something later that they were oh, here's how the star cards work and here's how the loot crates work. That was way after the fact, here's how this stuff's going to go. That felt like it was just kind of just being slid out the side door. We're oh, here's how we're going to do this stuff. And that's probably a bad way to do this. It's the sort of thing you wonder how, a company like EA, you would expect to devote a lot of time and money to research, user research, focus testing, you'd think that they would know just how bad this stuff could go, and they pressed ahead with it anyway. It makes you
really pressed. They thought that they could get away with.
That's right. That is the core of this issue. Is they just pushed it too far. Other companies are finding ways to not completely alienate their customer bases, but you guys just couldn't resist.
Yeah, this is the thing. When Forza 7 came out, and we talked about the blind box mod stuff seems real bad, but they're not taking real money yet. But they will. Mm-hmm. This doesn't seem like a good system, and they came out and apologized. We fucked up VIP. We fucked up all this stuff. We're sorry. We're making some changes. That was bad.
Yep.
This is some fucking next level meltdown type shit. Where were the game changers? They spent all of E3 talking about, that we brought in the people and look at this menu. Isn't it good? Yeah, this is a great menu. They played up how they're talking to the community as a part of E3. And then this is what they put out. Like, oh, okay, you either didn't listen or you like paid for their travel in a way they're like, it's all great. Everything you're doing is awesome. Keep it up. I don't even know. I would love to know how it got this far. How does this happen? How do they get to this point where this is the thing that they push out?
Yeah.
And then, you know, where were the turning points, and was it frantic or was it measured? Was it like, oh, well, we put out the beta at this price rate and people said this, so, you know, we're going to plan B, which we've had in the chamber for months and months. Like, at what point does it just become like, okay, this is too hot? We have clearly, we have fucking pushed it too far, and now
there had to have been voices along the way telling them, "Hey, this might be a little too far."
I mean,
but it's like
every game has arguments around that stuff.
I mean,
like,
there are stories. So go ahead.
I was gonna say maybe it's the moment where you have the most downvoted comment in all of Reddit's history.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, yes, but also like we're talking about the same company that got voted like the worst company in the world multiple years. It's at some point you get so resistant to that type of community interaction that you're just like, fucking haters, whatever, fuck them.
But that's such a more massive scale. That's not like one thing you can point to and say, this is the worst because of this one little thing they did. This is like, there's this one little thing they did and it's the worst thing, and it's something that's very, like, it seemed like a voice could have a difference. It seemed like the internet's voice could alter this in some way, and it did. Whereas, like, you know, getting voted most evil company in the world or whatever, it's just like, yeah, they suck.
Yeah, like that just seems like the same contingent of people that are like naming boats bad things in contests on the internet.
It
right?
is. It 100% is. But, you know, I mean, like, there's something rewarding to feeling like you have a voice, especially here in the present that we live in.
Right, absolutely.
There's something rewarding to feeling like you have a voice.
Yeah, and I think the key comes back to just like the focus of these arguments and stuff like that. Like the tone of a lot of that stuff ended up being like, how dare you do this to me? It's like, no, just don't buy the game.
Yeah.
Just, you want to send the message? Don't buy the game.
Yeah.
You want to send the message? Tell other people why you're not buying the game, and if they agree with you, tell them how to not buy the game.
Yeah. Don't bomb it on Metacritic. Don't this and that.
Yeah.
Just
that doesn't do anything other than make it look like a tantrum. Like,
don't buy the game. Encourage your friends not to buy the game.
Don't threaten death to the developers. Real or fake.
Yeah.
Just
how about
don't buy the game and focus your energy on telling people why you aren't.
Yes.
And the Metacritic bombing, all that other stuff, like. Or Amazon review bombing, wherever you take it, like that stuff just, it makes it look childish. Yes. It makes it look like a tantrum, like a focused effort of just like, nope, they have crossed this line and I'm out, and here's why I think you should be too. That's probably the effective way to do this.
Yeah. Before we move on, at the risk of talking this topic to death,
I'm sure it'll come up again.
Yeah, probably. It's probably worth mentioning this VentureBeat story that says that supposedly the game had cosmetic loot box stuff at a time, and that Lucasfilm and Disney shut that down.
Oh yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like
they don't want to have Luke to have a mariachi hat on or something.
Yeah, that checks out. Yeah. That seems like something. Again, you know, Disney would have extreme levels of approval over all the aspects of how these characters look and feel and all that other stuff.
Especially with a new movie coming out, you want to make sure they look exactly how you want them to look.
Yeah. And they're hyper protective of that stuff. So, and you know, like they just tossed out the expanded universe stuff. Like I'm sure that they are skittish about canon on some level, despite what they'll say in interviews about like, oh, we don't, games don't need to be canon. Like,
there's going to be no Luke with 3 E's in Battlefront.
Yeah,
I just want a Skywalker with 2 Y's.
Yes, get some loot in there.
Do you think maybe the loot boxes were geared more towards just cosmetic items to begin with?
This story makes it sound, or they refer to it as a cosmetics heavy Overwatch-like mode.
Okay.
That Lucasfilm shut down.
Yeah, sure. Fucking what color lightsaber do you want? Make your own Jedi. Like, sure, whatever.
So in light of that, like if you said to me, hey, design a progression system around a multiplayer Star Wars game, you can't change the appearance of anything in here.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do. I don't have a good answer to that question.
Well, you can design a progression. It becomes like design a
or a monetizable progression.
Like that's the part where it falls apart.
Yeah. Like it's I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
So that may have just been kind of thrown together, maybe last minute.
I doubt it was last minute, but it is a hard thing to know. It's not an easy problem to solve if you have those kinds of constraints.
Well, if the word from on high is yes, design me something that I can sell on top of the game, then if the message from on high is we are definitely selling extra shit in this game,
but it can't be costumes.
It can't be the thing that every other game successfully uses to monetize itself.
That's incredibly difficult, but also like that. And also that mandate shouldn't happen in the first place.
And also no season pass. You're not going to be able to sell DLC.
But that doesn't
go ahead and make your number.
It doesn't excuse anything that they did.
Yeah,
but that is a tough nut to crack.
Yeah.
I guess I should play some Battlefront 2 at some point.
I don't honestly like. I
still want to see that.
If you want to see the car crash, like go for it.
I want to see that campaign, and I enjoyed the first one. Sure.
I think the first game was better. This game, I think
but there's 14,
more. There's 14. Yeah, there is more. Yeah, I will say that
those bars are bigger than those other bars.
But I feel like the progression in that game had made some kind of sense. Mm-hmm. It's interesting to contrast this with how Call of Duty handles its concepts for boxes and unlockables and stuff like that, because Call of Duty still has the same basic progression system it always had, where they make their changes here and there about what you get to keep and win and all this other stuff, but it's really like when you get to level 19 you can unlock this gun, and then they do cosmetics and bonus versions of the guns that you can they basically tie the things that come out of the crates to collections, and if you complete that collection, you get a bonus item on top of that collection. So if you get these 7 pistol grips, or this calling card, this uniform, and this and that, then you get an epic version of this gun, which in the case of World War II is just you get more XP for using that gun. It's the same as an existing gun in the game. But I played some Modern Warfare Remastered, which is very similar to World War II in that there's kind of you just run around and shoot stuff.
I'm sorry, I have to step back. Every time you say World War II, I have to remind myself that's the name of a video game.
That's the name of a video game.
And not like World War II. Not a reference to a momentous event in history, but the actual name of a product
for sale.
What the fuck?
Well, keep in mind, this is also the industry that spawned a game called World War II Online.
Yeah, that's fair.
Anyway, so they've done this differently in the past, where there were guns that had gameplay benefits that came out of that stuff, and World War II, at least at this current time, doesn't do that. I figure they totally will,
because they didn't have it back then.
Yeah, they didn't have loot boxes back then. Yeah, they had baseball cards. This goes all the way back to that. The only thing you can count on is the piece of gum. Everything else,
not even now.
Yeah, right.
There's no gum.
I know.
But the thing they did with Modern Warfare Remastered is they had limited time events, and they added these guns over time and all this other stuff. So I suspect World War II will end up in the similar spot of just we've added 3 guns to every class, but you need to complete this process to unlock them. Yeah. And I wonder how that'll go.
It was a major turning point in the war when Russia gained access to the submachine gun.
Yeah, absolutely.
When the Red Army started manufacturing those higher XP machine guns, everything changed.
This gun is truly epic. Get it in our boys' hands.
Man, games are... What a strange time.
Yeah.
Everything is just bizarre right now.